Good morning, everyone. If you're audible, please can someone respond to me? If I'm audible, rather, can someone respond to me? Good morning.
Good morning. You're very audible.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome to our third week, our week 3 for the fourth quarter of energy mentorship program, JIIPC mentorship and internship program, energy class. So I'll be starting off by introducing myself again. Once again, my name is Dennis Williams, and I will be your moderator for this week. I would like to welcome everyone to today's class. I can see Elias, I can see Tomilola, I can see Araba, and I think one of our mentors is also on call, Mr. Ayobami. Welcome everyone to today's class. Thank you for joining early on. While we wait for our other mentors and while we also wait for our other mentees to join in on the call, I will just be taking these few announcements as we kickstart this session. So welcome once again to today's class. Our topic for today is the power industry. I want to use this opportunity to first and foremost apologize for the mix-up in last week. In the exchange of topics from last week, we had mentees present on the energy industry while they were supposed to on the power industry. It was an honest mistake from my end, and I'm so sorry about that. Hopefully it will not happen again, and I've taken correction from that. So going into today's program, we'll be taking the following announcements. So like we rightly said, registration for this quarter has officially closed, but still it's also open for the next quarter, that is Q1. If you have friends who wanted to join in this quarter, but members who wanted to join in this quarter but couldn't, they can still have courses that you want to take, right, for next quarter. You can still do that. We still have all our courses available. We have intellectual property, artificial intelligence and technology, the energy industry, fintech industry, health tech and law, metaverse, data privacy and protection, and the entertainment business and law. All right, so if you are still interested in a course next semester, next quarter rather, while you can still do that by clicking on the registration link or reaching out to us, and we'll send the registration link to you so that you can register. We'll be going on to our second announcement. Opportunity 2 minutes one-on-one private mentorship with your favorite mentor is still ongoing. To register, you can still register for that. What you'll be getting hacks, secrets, life lessons. So I guess over time in this, over the course of sense, you can reach out to us and we'll send the link over to you to register for the private mentorship. Okay, we'll be going over to introduce our mentors for today. Famous mentor, Mr. Okeogene Ubehe. Mr. Okeogene Ubehe is a top-tier oil, gas, and energy professional whose experience spans the upstream, midstream, and downstream sectors. He is driven by academics, market research, and work training experience, which is reflective in his professional experience and education. He graduated from the University of in mechanical engineering, project management, subsea engineering in the United Kingdom and Rwanda. He then moved to a small oil and gas startup called MG Valgas Limited that was then a major player in the NAOC AGIP land and oil pipelines and crude storage infrastructure development and operation in Bayelsa State. During this role, he led infrastructure growth projects and was the mastermind of the conception and construction of the world-class Mount Zion fabrication yard currently sited in Trans-Woju waterfront in Port Harcourt, River State. He later joined the crude evacuation and arm of Midwestern Oil and Gas, where he then the most successful marginal field operator, where he was then the most successful marginal field operator. This company called Umijini Pipelines, Pipelines Infrastructure Limited was and is as well well structured was and is a well-structured crude transportation and terminal operations startup. He joined to head the field operations and maintenance team in the Delta States to run the robust strategy put on ground by the promoters of that specialized proposed vehicle, which is still making waves today. He's currently the head technician of Energy Link Infrastructures Limited, another novel crude evacuation, storage and sales terminal infrastructure startup, headquarters in Lagos, but operating in Bonny. He is heavily involved in the energy research, oil and gas field operation, optimization studies, and is consulting for many organizations in the energy sector. He has in the past 2 years ventured into renewable energy and electric vehicles as part of his commitment to energy transition to greener, more sustainable energy mining and consumption. He has mentored several young engineers, energy enthusiasts, and lectures management and energy-related programs virtually and in person for institutions and conferences globally. He is a registered engineer and entrepreneur, a fellow of several professional bodies and energy broker engaged in project management, business optimization, crude evacuation, studies, especially for startup and growing companies. His email is there at okeogene.ubehe@gmail.com. Welcome, Mr. Okeogene. He's our first mentor for today. He will be having his section briefly with us. Our second mentor for today is Mr. Alexandra Olatunde Akolo. Alexandra is a dedicated professional with demonstrated experience in regulatory compliance, government relations, contracts administrations and settlements, negotiations, research, and reportage in the Nigerian electricity supply industry. He has recently joined Netias Power, a subsidiary of Netias Capital Limited, as a senior energy consultant. Prior to this role, Alexander was a regulatory affair and government relation manager at Nigerian largest electricity distribution company, Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company PLC. Alexander has deep knowledge on the plethora of regulation and directive in the NESI. He has worked as a technical assistant, Bureau of Trade and Investments, and a contract management analyst at the Embassy of Brazil and the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC, respectively. Alexander is about to complete a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Energy Studies, Renewable Energy Finance from the University of Ibadan. He holds a MSc Energy Study degree from the University of Ibadan and a BSc Economics degree from the University of Jos. He has attended several energy conferences within and outside Nigeria, and he's a member of the Nigerian Association of Energy Economics, NAEE, Global Association of Risk Professionals, GARP, Society of Petroleum Engineers SPE, and the Energy Institute. Welcome, Mr. Alexander Akulu, who will soon be also having your section. And our third mentor for today is Mr. Ogechukwu Kelly Agbo. Ogechukwu Kelly Agbo has over 15 years working experience in the oil and gas industry across upstream refineries, gas and power value chain. Mr. Okechukwu Kelly is our third mentor for today. And last but not least, on our list of mentors for today, we have Mr. Ayobami Dafe Iaola, sorry for that pronunciation. Ayobami Dafe Iaola is a barrister and solicitor, compliance specialist, PhD researcher, and law author. He has experience working in law firms, oil and gas, power and maritime companies in Nigeria and in the United Kingdom, where he gained in-depth knowledge in litigation and dispute resolution, commercial and corporate practice, corporate governance, contracting, regulatory compliance, and ISO internal audits, due diligence and foreign investments regulations. He obtained law degrees from schools in Nigeria and England, and was awarded several certificates from Ivy League schools in the United States, Yale University Contract Law, University of Pennsylvania Compliance Program, and a top-ranked schools in the United Kingdom, University College London, GDPR, King's College London, the Modern Judiciary, Coventry University Business Strategy. He is a member of several organizations such as the British Nigerian Law Forum, International Association of Maritime and Shipping Professionals, International Compliance Association, and the Nigerian Bar Association. He has some published works with Lambert Inc., Germany, titled International Cooperation and Joint Venture Legislations that limit foreign investments, on sale on Amazon, and Journals of Applied Business and Economics, JABE, New York, titled Companies' Right to Choose its Nationality, amongst others. He is currently a consulting legal manager for Carl Genco FZE at Sterling Exploration and Energy Production Co. Limited. He is our last mentor for today, and we'll just go over straight to have Mr. Ayobami. I can see he's already on call to help us dive into our topic for today first, which is the power industry. Yes, like I rightly said earlier, that there was a little mistake, an honest mistake from my end, where we sent in the wrong topic for last week. But we hope to rectify that today as we continue with the class. So, Mr. Ayobami, the floor is yours. You can come and give us your introduction, 20 minutes introduction into what's the topic for today.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning to the mentors also. It's nice to have Doctor in Iniquity, Alexandra Akolo, around. I mean, he's a guru in this power industry. I mean, he can give a breakdown of all the whole compliance related things in the power industry. So it's good to have him around this morning, and of course all other mentors. Yeah. Sorry, I've been off grid for a while. And the mix-up, I'm just in the email of the mix-up this morning. Yeah, and I got the email yesterday, but I guess I was in transit then. So yes, the power industry. I mean, everybody uses power at home. I mean, it's either IKEDC or EKDEC or something DC. You know, in Nigeria, I mean, and that came about from the first law we had. We had the electric power sector, I think from Act 2005, where we had the privatization of Nepal, PHC, and we had other companies come up, which then we have there's the Gencos, you have the Gencos, the transmission leg, and the distributions leg, which is the DCs you see around KDC, IKDC, Abuja Electric Distribution. Please, can you confirm if you can hear me? Because I think I might be having some comms issues.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. If you notice, I'm always on two platforms, on two different networks. That's because that's what we do in Nigeria. You have to have multiple networks. Yeah. So basically, there are 3 legs in the power chain. Usually they will tell you, some will tell you that it's 4. I mean, there is always the generation part, which is they call the Gencos, the transmission, and of course the distribution. Some people will tell you that it's something they call supply and trading, but to me, I think it's classified under the distribution angle. So, like I said earlier, there was the Electrical Power Reform Act 2005, but now with the current law being signed into our current president, I think in March, we have the Electricity Act 2023, which has tried to demystify the electricity regulations we have. 1, codify everything in one regulation. 2, try and better make the law better, basically, especially pertaining to transmission of electricity. Now, most people have always, over the years, power experts always tell you that the issue have always had in transmission. The Association of Genco Owners, which have always said that we have enough power to power Nigeria and neighboring countries. But the question I asked is, when the Gencos finish producing the power, and the transmission leg, which is still being under by Transmission Commission of Nigeria, do they have the power to accept all the power being made by the Gencos? Basically. So that's been always an issue. Genco said that they can produce enough power for Nigeria. Transmission leg say it's always the issue that they can't receive as much power as Gencos can, and Gencos are screaming and shouting because they think they're not making their money, because they think they go and get loans at double interest rates, and they can't even they can produce enough, but they can't even make enough money from it because they can't transmit it in all the power they make to transmission leg. And transmission leg will now be the one to now give the ferrous discourse we have. So most people, which I'm also a school, that transmission legs needs to be broken down. Now, it's always been in the hands of government. So what the current law is trying to do is to see if states and private individuals can come into it. And what I mean private individuals means complaints, and even you and me. Yes, you and me, in the sense that, for example, the new law allows you to be able to produce 1 megawatt without any license or anything, and you can even sell, I think, like 100 kilowatts around your neighbor. So, for example, I can generate 1 megawatt in my house and still sell on my streets 100 kilowatts without a license. And of course, setup of states government can set up electricity board to also manage the Gencos, the distribution and everything. So the law is supposed to make it better. But the question now we ask is, the Gencos and Discos are shouting that they're not really making their money. So how do you encourage things in that? How do you encourage development in that field? The first thing that Gencos have been shouting for a while is that CBN should come in and ensure that Gencos can get single digits loans. Now, single digits in the sense that is not up to 10, maybe 9, 8, 7% interest rates. But currently now we have the interest rates at currently over 20, if you're talking about Naira, and if you're talking about dollars, you see 13, 14, 15%, So they think they are spending so much, and they're not making their revenue back. That's the school of thought, So the new act also tried to introduce, of course, we have renewable energy in several forms and everything, So is the new act workable? Maybe maybe it can, but right now a lot of things that need to be put in place. The financing angle needs to be put in place. The pricing needs to be put in. It needs to be proper. You need to have a balance between the gencos being comfortable and us, the consumers, being comfortable in the pricing also. So there's a whole lot of it. I know that Alexandra Akolo will have more things to say, since he's the man on he's in distribution leg. He has had a lot of experience in that. So they are the ones with the boot on the ground and facing the consumers. All I do is review contracts that we go towards the building of power plants and all. So, I mean, it's a whole lot of power. The power, can it be better? Yes. I mean, but a lot of things needs to be on the hands of, has to be on deck. The financing, the pricing, and everything, like I said earlier. And of course, I mean, I already believe it can work in Nigeria. And of course, the renewables also can we can introduce more of the renewable. You have the tidal waves to the like we have mostly in Holland. You have the windmill and everything. So there are various forms, and I think also private individuals, me and you, can start generating power in our house if possible. From solar energy, and still sell it to our neighbors. That way, we find out that the power industries can be much better in Nigeria. So yes, the new act is interesting. It's too early, and I've not seen any great. I'm not seeing any major shake-up or major movement in the act, but it's still pretty early. But I believe that if we can see it to the end and government is sincere with the act, then I think it's most likely it's going to work, and the power industries can be better. So that's all. I know we have quite interesting questions, and I think that questions would also put more light into the power industry in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that section and introduction into the power industry, as especially tied to Nigeria. We'll soon be having Mr. Okeogene as our next mentor to come and also help us dissect this topic of the power industry. Mr. Okeogene, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, excellent. Nice to see all your beautiful faces again, and thank you, Abayomi, for the first shot. I think all of you are power specialists. I would have preferred the doctor to go next because he is a core in the energy industry. But again, I've been called upon just to run through a few things. I think it's a very interesting topic for us to be talking about. The power industry now in Nigeria. We have lots of potential, like we all know, but actualizing our potential is one of the challenges that we have. Nigeria has no business having issue with power. In the oil fields where we work, we flare gas and we waste enormous amount of gas. And in fact, they've become penalties now that NUPROC, that's the regulator in terms of gas generation, is being mandated on oil and gas producers so that the gas can be used. That has also been upscaled recently to a power generation or gas utilization and monetization policy that is being enacted now so that our gas can be used. And I mean, there's a lot being done in the gas case to ensure that the gas is being converted to power. But generally on the power side, I believe Nigeria has not done very well. I mean, earlier in the 1950s or so, power generation started in Nigeria where we had excess energy, and we were even giving nations like Niger, Cotonou, and other parts of Africa were sharing because there was excess capacity from the dams that we had then. Then was hydro dams we were using most of the time. Fast forward 64 to 65 years from then, we've gotten to a situation where the power is not being generated enough. One of the driving forces to this again is population, because the number of people that have been grown, exponential growth in the number of people. Like we all know, Africa and Nigeria is one of the countries that have the highest population growth. We have the young teenagers between the age of 13 to 17. I think we have one of the highest in the world. So all this, there's demand in our industries as we globalize, as Nigeria takes its place as the giant of Africa. The demand for energy is rising and rising and rising. And in that respect, in the investments that the Nigerian economy, the Nigerian power generation, and the Nigerian government is investing in power, it's far less than what will be happening. So you agree with me that recently we've been hearing of grid collapse and a few things. Infrastructure development in Africa and Nigeria as a whole has not met the demand. But what do I mean by infrastructure development? The power station, the transmission that's been talked about, the generation, transmission, distribution areas or sectors of power generation has not received enough investment. So I think the scenario that is being seen now, which my colleagues will also talk about, is that we are generating enough, but we're unable to transmit enough because the transmission leg, there's some limitations in transmission, and a system is as strong as its weakest link. So in our own case, in the power generation case, the transmission happened to be where we're having the lag. A generation, yes, we generate several places in Nigeria, and with the Energy Act I just talked about, released in June this year, it gives Power Generation Act rather, it gives the opportunity for anybody to generate power, gives state and people to collaborate and generate power. But how do we transmit this energy to across the value chain to where the customers are seems to be the issue, because the model that Nigeria has run in the past is that distribution is central. So we can generate the energy in different places. We put it through to a distribution channel towards one particular location in Nigeria, and then we distribute from that. And that model has crumbled our Nigerian power industry, which my colleagues will talk more about as we go ahead. But what do we need to do going forward? We need to rethink. That entire process. Nigeria is hungry for more economy, more power. Rather, our economy is growing very, very fast. In fact, energy has been one of the areas that has limited the Nigerian growth, because Nigerian youths are very intelligent, and energy has become one of the areas where we need to look into to get more novel solutions for us to grow our economy. Our economy is thirsty for growth. Potentials of 200 million people we have in Nigeria is such a lot that power sector has or should be declared an emergency to ensure that we're able to generate enough power for the industry. Chronic power issues we're having around the entire nation. As I speak to you a few hours ago, the power in my house, it was power cut around 7 o'clock, and up until 10:30 or so, I didn't have power in my house, which is very, very rare, because we usually have power on this side, but it's something we have become used to and we're managing as we go ahead. What are the power challenges of the entire power industry? There are challenges with generation, there's challenges with transmission, there are challenges with distribution. But as it relates to JIIPCC or JIIPC generally, and the students we have, I think the legal part of all this, somebody will be asking, how are lawyers or legal practice, how is that related to the energy industry? So I'll just break that down a bit. With the act that has just been released in June, most energy companies that are involved in power generation, they need lawyers to help them create contracts with the consumers, with the users. I use a typical example. I recently bought a meter for one of my business locations in Port Harcourt, and I constantly have issues. I have to get to my lawyer again to write to PhD to regularize some of the issues again. So that's where the lawyer comes, the legal practitioner comes into place, because you need to understand the Nigerian energy space. You need to understand how things work, and then how to approach challenges that we are facing as we're going out. So there's also an issue with privatization. That's also another area we have looked at. One of the models as a nation we've looked at is that the government and the government institutions are not able to manage energy and the processes, because we see that the energy and the public sector is very slow in making decisions. So privatization efforts were made already in the first dispensation, where President Obasanjo then created some initiatives where we began to privatize some of the distribution companies and some of the gencos as well. And that was why we talked about the Power Reform Act of 2005. That was where it came about, and a lot of energy was put in that. Certain part of the power generation grid was also privatized. Then that's where we began to have PHED and several other likes of the generation company or distribution companies rather, where they began to manage the entire NEPA as it used to be. They broke it down to several other regions. We had the West region, where we had the good Ondo State, where had a few of them already, and that had to deal with the privatization issue. This has helped us already, because there's regional management of energy distribution now, which is far better than what we had in the earlier days. I want to touch on renewable energy a bit. This is another leg, another segment of power generation. Knowing that we have had limitation in generating energy, I use my estate as an example. A lot of people here have solar panels on their roof and all that because they are also remote areas where has not seen power already. My colleague mentioned this on the call last week, when there are cities and places in remote cities that in 30, 40 years, they've never seen power. And what is the easiest way to reach out to those places? Because you don't have the power grid, you don't have the electricity, you don't have the overhead cables running to those areas. The easiest places to have off-grid solutions. So another name for renewable and the transmission in a way where it's not connected to the primary grid is called off-grid, right? So smaller portions of energy is generated for small businesses, for small households, for small communities, and they are used in that place to power their nation, their communities. Some oil companies have done very well in this, where they have remote oil and gas fields. You see them generate and buy oil and gas turbines, and they give free light or free power to the community, the host community. This we have seen in Delta State, as it's been done by JIIPCCMIP. You know, there's power generation in most of their operations, where they give free power just to see development happen in those communities. Issue of gas flaring, I've also talked about. That's also an energy issue, and now we're transiting into monetization of the gas so that more energy can be generated. And the road ahead, what is our expectation as we go ahead? With all of these challenges, we believe that there are also opportunities. And I'm happy with in 2023, with the new act that has come into play again. It presents a new ball game for those that are intelligent, those that have been in the industry, those that are looking to provide solutions to the energy industry. So now anybody can generate. What this means is, I use my vicinity where I live as an example. We have 4 or 5 estates that serve about 200 to 300 people, right? If I'm able to get a gas turbine here, gas supply, I'm able to generate enough electricity here, I can share to the neighbors, I can share and earn a token for that. And I mean, that's the free slave that are beginning to be. So people are beginning to think in the line of investment, how to partner with foreign firms, and how to use this new opportunity that we have. But again, to realize some of these opportunities that we have, infrastructure is so important. Like I mentioned, we need to put the right infrastructure in place. We need to have finances in place to, pay for these gas turbines and some of these units we want to use. We also need to have regulation and governance. That's where you all come in. As a legal practitioner, regulation and governance is your baby. You need to have laws that manage how is energy going to be transmitted, what is the generation cycle, what is the payment cycle, what is the billing cycle, all these things already. They need to be enshrined in regulations, and that's where you all come into. The issue of international partnerships also with global firms also come into place. You need to also write about that in our laws, and also investment. So there's really a lot when it comes to the power generation industry for the legal sector. I believe those young lawyers that are all from that still in university, and those that are all from law school, focusing on the power industry is one area that has a lot of potentials. And as we go ahead, you begin to take note of all these, pay attention to them, write articles of them to generate a feed in your direction. People begin to read about it, and they know that you have a knack for this. You want to grow in this area, and you begin to make comments, and you generate some form of feed in your direction. I believe there's a lot in this space, and I encourage a lot of you young lawyers to look into this and partner with those senior lawyers as well that have done well in this industry to learn more for further mentorship, of which I know that JIIPCC is also willing to help. If you want to have private sessions or you want to grow in this area, there are also, I think, there are internship opportunities for you also to join and grow and learn about this. That will be my comments. I'll pass on the mic to my other mentors to make their contributions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We really appreciate your contributions to this topic. We'll be having our last mentor on call. Mr. Okechukwu is yet to join us, and we hope that he joins us soon. But before he joins, we would like to have Mr. Alexander Apollo come also help us dive into the topic of today, the power industry. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Ayobami. It's good to meet you again. Thanks for the shout out. It's also good to see Ogene again. Fantastic session we had last week. Yes, so I would can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, fantastic. Interesting topic, power sector. My co-mentors have already said a lot, so I won't say too much about it because they've already spoken extensively about the power sector, its challenges, the new Electricity Act, the issue of the power sector and the likes, right? So just as Ogene said, even myself too, in my current location, there's no power. And everybody needs power for different things. Power is one of the key indicators for growth, economic growth and development across countries across the world. Nigeria is the only country where there is no power and you expect the manufacturing industries or the manufacturing sector to be developed. It's not possible. Also, Nigeria is the only country where the industries pay more than the residential. So the industries are the ones subsidizing the residences. It's supposed to be the other way around, right? As an incentive for the industries to industrialize or to industry as it should be, right? So the thing is, it was NEPA became a power holding company, and from the holding company, it was broken down. 11 successor discos, 1 transmission company, and successor gencos. So I heard 1 or 2 things from the other mentors, and I just want to clarify. The generation as it is right now is not sufficient. Total installed capacity of the generators in the country are just 13,000. Yeah, 30,000 megawatts, 13 gigawatts. That is nowhere enough. If you look at the forecast for the total energy need for the country, Nigeria as a country, if you include generators, private generators, we're talking over 70,000 megawatts that is needed. So generation is still an issue. Unfortunately, the transmission cannot even take the 13,000 that is currently available or installed. So there's a difference between installed capacity and available capacity. It's just like when you have a car installed, you have a driver seat, passenger seat, and 3 seats behind. That is the installed capacity. But when there is something, maybe a baby seat in 2 of the seats, and you want to carry adults, the available capacity now reduces from 5 to 3 because they have baby seats on 2. So those 2 are out of commission. So that is one of the problems with our gencos today. Some of them have problems such as maintenance issues, gas issues, transmission issues, evacuation issues, and the likes, right? Transmission can only take barely 5,000 megawatts, and that is a problem. The discos cannot even take up to 4,500. Most of the problems are on the discos, where we have a lot of ETC losses, liquidity challenges. Ayobami already spoke about how the gencos cannot recover their money, so they sell to NBET. NBET sells to the discos. The discos cannot collect because some people, even on this call, are bypassing their meters. Some people are not paying their NEPA bills. Some people are beating NEPA staff and all the like. So there are lots of challenges in the powers. Dennis, you're laughing. It looks as if you bypass. I see that. I think you bypass. So my point is there are lots of challenges in the power sector. And honestly speaking, if I'll be honest with you, in my stay in the power sector, I think we are far from having a solution. Ayobami, you are talking about the Electricity Act. I mean, the PIA was signed since 2021. What is different? Not so much. So why would the Electricity Act be different? Right? So yes, we are optimistic, but don't forget that the amendment to the Constitution, Section 14B, only allows the states to make laws. So again, the Electricity Act does not empower anybody to just, no, it doesn't do that. What it does, it allows the state, already it allows the states to make laws, right? But in areas before in areas not covered by the national grid. They can make laws in generation transmission covered by the national grid or not. I don't think much will change if you ask me. That is my own expert opinion. I might be wrong, but that is just what I feel, right? So I mean, the PIA is there. PIA, fantastic act. Okay, yes, the NNPC has been unbundled, but what has changed? You still have gas shortages. You still have people are still queuing for fuel. I mean, even the gas flaring is still there. GSN is supposed to organize for people to evacuate the fled gas for free. All those things are not happening. The progress is very, very slow. So yes, the Electricity Act is signed, but not much might really change. So the power industry, let's just focus on the grid, as in grid, like grid supply. When you talk about power industry, that's what mostly talks about: generation, transmission, distribution. Renewables is part of the power industry, but it's usually somehow separated. So, but I'll just stop here, and I look forward to an interesting discussion. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. From all our mentors, we've had so much in so little time on this topic. I'm sure we must have picked 18 or two. About me laughing, it was just based on some issues we recently had with lights where we were disconnected because of based on some pricing issues. So that was the reason why I laughed. It was not because of bypassing meters. So we'd like to have our mentees come up to make their presentation. We'll be having group one. Like Mr. Alexander suggested the last time we were in class, that after group one presents, then we'll have our mentors make comments and recommendations from comments on the presentation. Then we'll have group two. So that is the sequence we're going to be adopting from henceforth. So we'll be having group one. Group one presenter, you can come up and make your presentation. You have 10 minutes for your presentation. As best as you can, try to stick to the points and be as fast as possible so that we can get to our mentors' comments and we can also have enough time for questions and answers. So we would like to have group one. If you're ready, you can come up and make your presentation.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm trying to share my screen. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Araba.
Sorry. Is my screen visible?
Not yet.
Hello.
No, not yet.
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. How about now?
Still not yet. Okay, just hang on a minute. I will try and see if I can help you share screen. So let me begin as to your presentation first. Come in.
Thank you.
Okay, it's my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Banjala Lua, and I'll be presenting for Group 1. our topic is on, our group presentation is on the power industry. Okay, so I'm going to start now. For introduction, the global power industry is a multifaceted and essential sector that plays a central role in meeting the world's energy demands, driving economic growth, and shaping our modern way of life. This is basically just telling us that we need, as energy is one of the most important things for society to grow. We need, mankind needs energy to do the basic things. We would not survive without energy. When we eat, to be able to get energy, we eat to transfer that whatever we eat into energy. We need energy in our hospitals. People on life support are depending on energy. We need energy for operating our machinery and stuff like that. Our day-to-day activities basically depend on energy. Then for the sources of energy, we have, hello? Okay. For the sources of energy, we have fossil fuels, we have renewable energy, and we have nuclear energy. From what we've learned in our previous classes, we know fossil fuels to be energy derived from remains of ancient carbon-based plants and animals that have undergone a process of decomposition and transformation deep within the earth. We have three primary sources of fossil fuels, that's coal, oil, and then natural gas. We know coal to be from remains of terrestrial plants from mainly swampy environments. Oil and gas is gotten from microorganisms and algae accumulated on the ocean floor. We also have natural gas that is formed from organic matter, but under conditions that result in gaseous hydrocarbons. For renewable energy, we know renewable energy to be derived from energy that flows from the Earth's ecosystem. That is energy that is basically inexhaustible. It replenishes itself, is naturally replenishable. For example, we have the sun, that is for solar energy. I don't think it's ever possible to run out of sunlight. It's not possible to ever run out of wind from water and things like that. Then we have nuclear energy. For nuclear energy is energy that comes from the center of the nucleus or an atom. It provides a substantial share of electricity in some countries. It is considered a low carbon energy source, but poses safety and nuclear waste disposal challenges. Then for our regulatory framework, that is slide 3, regulatory frameworks are basically legal mechanisms that guide the power industry. The regulatory framework is a complex one, and these regulatory frameworks involve various levels of government oversight, international agreements, and regional regulations. For the first one, we have national regulations. National regulations basically guide the power industry for each country. For Nigeria, we have our own regulations. The US has theirs, China has theirs, and that they have those regulations define how electricity is generated, transmitted, distributed, and how and how it is managed. They usually also have authorities responsible to ensure the efficiency of these frameworks. We'll be discussing that further into the slides. We also have international agreements. These international agreements and organizations play a role in shaping the global regulatory frameworks. For example, we have the United Nations and the International Trade Union, which impact how countries manage the power sector. We have regional regulations, and there are specific organizations and agreements in most regions that harmonize regulations for electricity markets and cross-border energy trade. We have market deregulation. Market deregulation basically allows introduction of new businesses into the markets to increase competition, which in return increases economic activity, which also aids in economic growth for the power industry or in the power industry. We have renewable energy standards. Countries are now implementing regulations and standards to promote renewable energy sources. Those standards, the previous slide, can you help me with that? The one for renewable energy.
think I don't know what happened, but it seems to be cut.
Okay, let me check mine here. Sorry. Yes. Those standards include renewable portfolio standards, feed-in tariffs, and tax incentives to encourage the development and integration of renewable power generation. Next, we have the global trends and deregulation subsidy. As I explained previously, deregulation is basically the government or the bodies in charge of the power industry introducing businesses into the markets to aid in competition and improve economic growth. Sorry. Yes, for competition, deregulation allows multiple companies to compete in power energy and power generation markets. Then for consumer choice, deregulation often provides consumers with the freedom to choose electricity providers, which can result in competitive pricing and innovative service offerings. We have various electricity bodies, like we have the NNPC, we have the Ikeja Electric, we have PHCN, we have IBEDC. So consumers, that is we the citizens, can choose which of them to either purchase energy from and things like that. The power industry subsidies. Power industry subsidies refer to financial incentives provided by governments or other entities to support various aspects of the energy sector. These subsidies can serve multiple purposes, including promoting renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, and ensuring affordability. Okay, the power industry in Nigeria. Okay, the history of the power industry in Nigeria has been ongoing, or it backdates to 1896. Under the colonial rule, we have electricity was generated in Ijora, Lagos, by the British colonial government. In 1951, the ECN, that is the Economic Commission of Nigeria, was established to regulate and operate power supply systems in Nigeria. Then we have the Niger Dam Authority, that is the NDA, which was established for the development of the Kanji hydroelectric dam. In 1972, we have the ECN and the NDA that were merged to form the Nigerian Electric Power Authority that we all know as NEPA. In 2005, due to the inefficiency of the established NEPA, the Electric Power Sector Reform Act was enacted. I'm not sure. Okay, that's not the one that was by Jonathan, which established the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, which we know as NERC. The PHCN was formed as a transactional corporation that comprises of 18 successor companies, 6 generation companies, 11 distribution companies, and 1 transmission company created from NEPA. In 2010, the NBET, Nigerian Bulk Electric Trading PLC, was established as a credible off-taker of electric power from generation companies. By November 2013, the privatization of all generation and 10 distribution companies was completed, with the federal government retaining the ownership of the transmission company. And in 2023, the Electricity Act was enacted. It repealed the EPSRA, that is known as the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005. Then to the next slide, we have stakeholders in the Nigerian power sector. Sorry. The key stakeholders in the Nigerian power industry are largely characterized by the generation companies, transmission companies, the distribution companies, bulk traders, NBET, and so on. They are divided into two, that is the non-decision making and the decision making. Examples of the non-decision making are the energy consumers, private citizens, renewable technology, of the energy industry. For the decision-making companies, we have the generating companies, those are the GenCos. We have the distribution companies, those are the DISCOs. We have the NERC. Then we have on the next slide, the Electricity Act of 2020, that's regulation. So the major regulation, that is the one that we use now in 2023, that's the Electricity Act of 2023, had some key provisions. or innovations, as anyone might want to use. One is repealed the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005. It introduced rather the transition into medium-term and long-term stages of the Nigerian electricity market. It introduced state generation and distribution of electricity. It grants the state government the authority to engage in power generation, the authority to engage in transmission and distribution in areas within the state. We have the tariffs and the subsidies. We have renewable energy purchase and generation obligation. Some other regulations are the Nigerian Electricity Management Service Agency, the Environmental Impact Assessment Act, market rules, and so on. We have the regulatory bodies now that aid in implementing or to support the efficiency of those regulatory frameworks. We have the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. We have the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, that is NEMSA. We have the ECN, that is the Energy Commission of Nigeria. For the next slide, we have the power value chain. And we have a diagram or a picture there that simplifies the power value chain. We have the electricity generators. Under the electricity generators, we have the GenCos, that are the generating companies. They are responsible for generating electricity through hydro or thermal, that is hydro being water or thermal being gas. They help in managing the power plants. Notable GenCos, that generating companies involve or include rather Transcorp Power, Shiroro, Sapele, Kanji, or Jeba. For the electricity transmission, we also have the TCN, that is the transmission company. The TCN manages and administers the electricity transmission network in Nigeria. They evacuate power from the generating companies and transfer to the DISCOs, that is the distribution companies, and those are the next in the diagram, electricity distribution. We also have the electricity retailers. Those are the ones that help in selling electricity, that is to us, the consumers or the customers. For the next, before we go there, we have about 11 different distribution companies in Nigeria. We have in Abuja, we have in Benin, we have in Ikeja, we have Kaduna and other states. For the next slide, we have key challenges of the Nigerian power industry. As of 2023, reports show that Nigeria continues to produce less than 5,000 megawatts for over 200 million citizens, despite having an installed electricity generation capacity of about 13,000 megawatts. This stagnation that the Nigerian power sector has continually faced is due to challenges like inadequate transmission infrastructure, financial constraints, regulatory uncertainties, and so on. For the next slide, we have the power reforms. Nigeria has implemented a number of power sector reforms in order to address challenges and improve efficiency. We have the power sector privatization that was done in 2013. We have unbundling of the state-owned utility and the establishment of regulatory bodies such as the NERC. We have National Integrated Power Project, that's the NIPP, which is aimed to increase power generation capacity through construction of new power plants across the country. We have introduction of the Electricity Act of 2023 for the improvement of energy supply. Then the next slide, you have the impact of Nigerian power industry on the Nigerian economy. I'd say the impact of the Nigerian power industry has the positive side and the negative side. We have electricity as a source of revenue for the country, that is from our income, sales, and taxes. We have that of job creation. I mean, when we have companies and industries, we need people, we have machineries, we need those that would build the machineries, we have those that would work the machinery. So in one way or the other, it provides jobs for individuals and citizens. And for the negative aspects, we have reduction in production. We have reduction in production, we have job losses, we have outright closure of companies or migration to other countries. When we have things such as power outages or shortage of power supply, it I give an example of hospitals, for example, now. If we have people that are on life support and for one reason or the other, there is a blackout or a power shortage, we have people that would or can lose their lives because they depend on, those machines depend on electricity to survive. We have companies that are like manufacturing companies, for example. If there is an industry that has that, their main focus is on manufacturing. If there is no electricity for 2 or 3 days, those goods that they're manufacturing will end up either spoiling or we have damaged goods and things like that. So in one way or the other, we have negative and positive. The power industry has those impacts on the economy. Then we have court cases in the local power markets. We have listed 2 cases those are the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, that's the IBDC, against the NERC. We also have Toluwani Adebi against NERC. Then the next slide, that is the power industry, the way forward. Nigeria-based news agency Punch reported that over 40% of households in the country own and use generators to meet electricity demands. Nigerian households on average have electricity in their home for 15 to 18 hours of each day. And out of that, we have 48%, that is 6.8 hours, is self-supplied by generators. And this differs by geography. In a state like Taraba, only 90% of those households report having electricity. Some of the initiatives that could change the fallen trajectory of the NESI include the need for reevaluation of capital base of the electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, okay, that is still the distribution companies, investors, and possible increase in the capital base, further unbundling of current distribution subsector to one investor per state, development and monitoring of implementation of performance improvement plans. We have TCN should also be required to periodically upgrade equipment and infrastructure. Some persons have argued that the only way forward is for the government to reverse the privatization policy and bring back the power sector under exclusive public ownership. For our conclusion now, the Nigerian power industry has been a subject of intense scrutiny due to its persistent challenges, but it also holds significant promise for the nation's economic growth and improved quality of life. Our comprehensive analysis has reviewed the multifaceted issues that have long plagued the sector, including inadequate infrastructure, unreliable power supply, regulatory complexities, and financial constraints. These issues have hindered the sector's performance and stunted Nigeria's economic potential. We gave some recommendations, that is things that the power industry can do to benefit our economic growth and to aid growth, basically. We have investments in more infrastructure. That is, we should prioritize significant investments in power infrastructure to enhance generation, transmission, and distribution capabilities. We have diversified energy sources. We should engage the development the power industry should encourage the development and integration of renewable energy sources, such as solar, wind, and hydroelectric power, to reduce dependency on fossil fuels and increase energy sustainability. We have customer engagement. That is, the power industry needs to promote consumer education and engagements to encourage energy efficiency, responsible usage, and adherence to payment obligations. We have security of energy assets, we have international collaboration, we have community participation, and we have stakeholder collaboration. Thank you very much. That is the end of my presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Group 1. Thank you very much, Araba. That was a very wonderful and lovely presentation. I would like to see your group members react to that presentation. She did so well in making sure that she was able to capture everything on the slide. So well done, Araba. We would now like to have our mentors come and give their commentary on the presentation that was made by Group 1. We'd like to have first Mr. Ayobami give his own take on their presentation.
Okay, thank you. It's a good work from Anjola Oluwa and our team. I mean, it's a beautiful. I like the fact that it was graphics. You know, I think graphics always makes it quite easy. I mean, the background was pretty beautiful, actually. I mean, good one. But the beauty of I always say this, beauty of a good research work usually is you look at the past. I mean, and compare it to the present, you know, and to explain the future. So in present, you see if there have been development in a particular field from the past, you know, and the presentation has, I mean, led us through the various stages from the pre-colonial time to the present state, which is very commendable. Yeah, but the present, they spoke a bit of it. I was expecting to have more of facts, especially things like your opinion, for example, on the new act. You just opposing that with the Power Reform Act of 2005, rather, you know, and I was expecting to have that because that one, 2005 Act introduced privatization of Nigerian government assets into private individuals. And so I was expecting to see why did we even need to have a 2023 Act in the first place? So why did they get it wrong in 2025? So I was expecting more personal opinion. And the beauty of personal opinion also in research work is that technically sometimes there's actually no wrong answer as long as you can logically present your facts and evidence and statistics and data and everything and sit on it, you know, that this is what I think, you know. So you might actually have different opinions from me, which is okay, you know, as long as you have your facts and your data backing those and that brings me into referencing also. I mean, I always say this in every call. I mean, if you are quoting someone, let us know who you're quoting and find a way of differentiating between what you read, what you have seen, you know, and your own personal opinion of those. You know, I'm always big on referencing. Yeah. Then, like I said, originality of opinion in relation to the law. You spoke about the key changes, but you didn't discuss about how the key, your opinion of the law itself, where you think the law did well, where do you think the law did wrong. Then earlier I said that my own personal opinion is that it's still too early, it's teething problems, you know, and will it get better? Maybe yes, maybe no. But I mean, I believe that it's still it's a right direction. But so also like Alexandra said earlier, making reference to the PIA, yes. PIA came and we're expecting more of an NPC to be run like a limited that it is, but it's still running itself like a government agency, you know. So that's an example of that, you know. So what do you think? Do you think government is paying lip service with the law and not won't go into practicality of what the act says? You know, I was expecting more of a personal opinion on that. Like I said, it's not the right or wrong answer. It's what you think based on the facts on ground, you know. Then I was also expecting to speak more on licensing and, you know, permits and everything. I mean, the compliance part of it, which I didn't see much about. Then it was good that you made reference to international trades and everything. I was still expecting a bit of more light in that also. I mean, having made it more interesting. So in all, it's a good work. I mean, yes, it could always get better, but at least it's a good one for now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Wonderful contribution. I'm sure they are taking notes on some of the all the contributions, rather the observations that were made by our mentor, Mr. Ayobami. And we'd like to have Mr. Oke Ogene also come and make his contribution on the presentation that was made by the mentees. Yes, sir, Mr. Oke Ogene. Sorry, sir. You seem you are muted, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So I've been in and out already on this because I'm trying to sort out something at home. I think the presentation went smoothly. I didn't really partake in all, but I like the fluency of the presenter. She demonstrated a lot of confidence, and I think that's a very important element that people don't really talk about in presentations. In our groups, we must ensure that we pick the best fits. I mean, while we encourage people that have not presented in the past to step up, but someone that will be able to, drive home the entire point has been put fluently, because there's a huge mark for that already. Like I mentioned, I didn't really go through the entire thing, but having gone through the presentation before now, I think the team did a very good work in terms of quality of work that's been done. In terms of presentation and graphics, or the pictures and the entire way it was presented, I think I want to commend them as well. I see a lot of pictures that were used and a few things they did there. So I want to end here and give my other mentors the opportunity, because I didn't go through. Probably on the second run, I'll be here to go through the entire thing. I'll be able to give significant comment on that. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry. Thank you very much, sir, for your observation. We'd like to have lastly Mr. Alexander come also to give his comments on the presentation that was made.
Okay, thank you. I listened to the whole presentation. I liked it, but I went through the slides as well, and I liked it. A lot of graphic work and all that. I saw that actually they did a lot of research. When I saw the case of Ibadan Disco versus NEC, I actually laughed, because I mean I was in Ibadan Disco, right? And then we were always going to court. And I just knew that the people that did the presentation are lawyers. It was interesting. So I also like the fact that the presenter, though there were times she was reading word for word, the slide also was not so wordy, but towards the end, there were a lot of words, there were a lot of stuff that she just put into the slide. So as I mentioned last week, we emphasized the need to make PowerPoints as punchy as possible and less wordy. Though one of the recommendations really made me laugh. The last one, where the group stated that the government should should retrieve the discourse from their current investors. I mean, if the government does that, what will happen? Yola was taken back by the government from the investors, and what has happened? It is the most unprofitable discourse as it is today. Nothing, no KPIs, nothing. So I don't think that would be a good solution if the discourse are taken back by the government. What can be done instead is that the privatization process can be redone this time around, based on the lessons that have been learned from the first privatization that was carried out. More stringent rules, more stringent mechanisms we put in place. Only investors that meet the technical, that pass the technical test, only investors that pass the commercial test, that pass the experience test should be given the opportunity to own or be owned the discourse, right? So it has to be managed by the private sector. You can't go back to government, but it's just that this time around, only serious people. About 5 discourses have already been re-owned by the banks. UBA was taken over, UBA took over Abuja Disco, Fidelity Bank took over, Ibadan was taken over by Amcon, right? Fidelity took over, I think, Port Harcourt, Kano, Kaduna. So banks that were owed money by the former investors had to step in and take these assets. So this privatization process can now be redone, and to bring in serious people. I remember when I was with the NEC chairman early this year, and I just had a personal meeting with him, and he mentioned that that is the plan. The plan is to bring in serious guys. So government cannot do it. There's no money. There's no money. I mean, it would be worse. We know how NEPA was, the NEPA days of NEPA. There was no lights, a lot of corruption in systems and all that. It's just as good as going back to saying you are going back to a vertically integrated system. It's not going to work. So that is just that was just to point out to one of the conclusions that the group made. But overall, I liked the presentation, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your contributions and observation. I'm sure everything that's every contribution, every observation that was made by each of our mentors was or will be taken into due consideration by the mentees. Okay, moving forward, we would like to have Group 2 also come and make their presentation on the topic and subtopics they were giving. Group 2, you can start sharing your screen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon. We can hear you.
Okay. Please, just a moment. I'm trying to share my screen from here.
Sorry, if you're having issues sharing your screen, I can do for you. Okay.
Okay, please, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So on behalf of Group 2, we'll be providing reports on. So basically, we'll be speaking on power reformation, privatization, and regulatory framework for the power industry. So basically, what we are simply doing is reporting or providing an update on the progress of the power industry. Okay, so quickly, the power industry is a multifaceted sector of the Nigerian industry. So what this simply means is that the power industry includes several sectors, which includes the oil and gas, and also the sector of the energy industry. So under the energy industry, we have the oil and gas, and we also have the power industry. So under this section, we'll be focusing on the power industry. So the sector undertakes the activities of production, marketing, and sale of electricity, heat, or associated product and services to the public. That is what the power industry involves. And today's discourse will focus on 3 areas of power industry. These are the global power reformation. So when we say global, we're actually restricting updates or reports on to Nigeria as a whole. We'll also be talking on the regulatory framework for the power industry and the electricity security. So the power reformation and privatization. By 2020, the energy sector was the major energy of the national sustainable social, economic, and industrial growth. Other sectors of the economy. Nigeria Vision 2020 National Technical Group on energy. Before steps towards privatization, the government owned and operated a vertically integrated company known as the National Electric Power Authority. So NEPA was before the Electricity Act of 2023, the government actually has a monopoly over over the power industry in Nigeria. However, due to shortcomings on the part of the NEPA, they were unable to actually carry on with the generation, transmission, and distribution of energy, of power in the country. Some of the challenges include shortage of electricity power supply to meet the ever-increasing demands, because the report actually has it that about 2 million users of about 2 million people or citizens in Nigeria uses electricity, but however, only about 500 people have access to electricity. Now, who are these other people? Who are these other users who have limited access to electricity? They include the industries, and they include companies, also include homes. All right. That was why as a result of that, there was more like a creation for other rooms or bodies to be able to come up to generate electricity for themselves and the others as a whole. So NEPA was created by statute specifically and established to exercise unilateral control over the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity in Nigeria. NEPA's effort to achieving a steady supply of affordable power to homes and businesses were frustrated by needless bureaucracy. Okay, I've been able to talk on that. Please, a moment, please. Please, I am trying to share the other screen. Please, a moment. Okay, so I'll be talking on can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so I'll be talking on oh shoot. So quickly, I'll go over to power reformation and privatization. With the embrace of democracy in 1999, the quest for a better electricity power sector intensified. To achieve this through reforms, the Bureau of Public Enterprises were displaced the defunct technical committee on privatization and commercialization, and was established at the same time as the National Council on Privatization. 1 year after, the federal government of Nigeria inaugurated the Electric Power Implementation Committee, and then this led to the EPS, and the EPS. So, however, the privatization of parts of the power sector in Nigeria did not begin recently. It has actually started before now, and that was the year 2025, where states were actually giving access to where some successors, about 18 successors, were giving access to generate electricity for the country. The federal government has taken some steps to provide funds to some of the privatized generation and distribution companies. Specifically, the federal government on 2nd August 2004 extended 213 billion naira to power generate companies. Billions was preserved for meeting committees to supply specific volumes of gas for power and negotiate and execute bankable gas supply agreements with power plants. So what this simply means is that the government, however, are no longer in charge as it used to be the case then, where they were actually they actually had a more like a monopoly over this power industry. So what they now did now is to give this right or delegation of power to other private sectors to control the company on their behalf. And what they did to support was to invest. As a way of investment, they actually budgeted some money in 2014. Another commendable steps by the federal government to combat the investors' fatigue and dissatisfaction was the issuance of a new electricity tariff, a reset tariff order, acronym as MYTO21, which takes into account the CBN provided facility, current levels of energy output, the new baseline gas price, and other variables that more closely reflect the true cost of running electricity. Please, can you see the point I am currently at, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I was thinking maybe you could just help me share from the other end because I'm having difficulties to.
Okay, let me help you share.
Okay, currently I am at post-privatization actions. Post-privatization actions.
Okay, one of your group members has volunteered to share his screen. Please, Ms. Mohammed, you can go ahead. Stop sharing your screen so that Mohammed can.
Okay. Okay, I'm coming. Okay, so I am currently at post-privatization actions, please. Not achievements. Okay, so the federal government has taken some steps to provide funds to most of the, achievements of privatization, increase in installed capacity for power generation, expansion of the transmission network, some rollout of meters and modest progress to boost utility revenues, greater demand for power sector equipment that led to private sector investments and participation across the value chain. So it was actually possible at this point because of due to some investment by the government and some private individuals. So there was an expansion in the transmission network at some point, and then it was possible at some point to also roll out meters to people to be able to purchase some certain amount of electricity, unlike how it was then, where the NEPA as a body in charge of electricity would just come to an individual house or a corporate entity and tell them this is what they consume at the end of the month. So we could actually say that at this point, that privatization kind of lessened the huge sum of or the outrageous amount that was actually paid by individuals or users. Regulatory framework, the electricity sector, regulatory framework, please. Regulatory framework. Okay, the electricity sector in Nigeria is governed by several laws and regulations. The key legislations are discussed below. The electric power sector reform, which I earlier spoke about, the EPSRA of 2005, CAP E7, laws of the Federation of Nigeria. This is the primary law that sets up the regulatory framework for the entire regulatory sector. The act establishes the Nigeria Electricity Commission. So the Nigeria Electricity Commission is actually in charge of electricity by virtue of EPSRA, and one can actually say that the EPSR of 2025 is a principal law and was actually the first act that was enacted for the purposes of governing the electricity of the country. The Nigeria Electricity Management Service Agency Act. The Nigeria Electricity Management Service Agency establishes the Nigeria Electricity Management Services, which is responsible for ensuring compliance with the technical standards in the sector. So this act basically more like a monetary agency that regulates or guides the private individuals to ensure that the power that was delegated to this private agency is not being abused. The third law that is being recognized as a power, as an act that regulates the power industry is the market rules. The market rules were made pursuant to Section 226 sub 2 of the EPSRA. And the purpose of the market rules is to establish an efficient, reliable, and competitive electricity market. So now, the power industry was being privatized by several individuals, and then the expectations or the reasons why it was actually made so was to see that the power industry will become more efficient than the way it was under the jurisdiction of the NEPA governance. Okay. Other regulatory framework, we've talked about the NERC, and I stated that it is
Okay, Oluchi, are you still with us? Can you hear us? Okay, so,
I guess there has been some problem with my other presenters, and so I'll be continuing with the presentation. So as presented earlier, we have already discussed about the NERC Act and NEMSA Act. In this slide, the other regulatory frameworks that were in place were was the Energy Commission of Nigeria, which was responsible for planning and policy development of the power sector. And then the Federal Ministry of Power, Work and Housing, under the EPSRA, the ministry has power to issue directives for the development of the industry. Now moving on, there are some security challenges with electricity, and the electricity, it refers to the power system's ability to continuously fulfill its actions against the possible adverse situations. So from the foregoing, it can be deduced that the electricity systems are vulnerable to different types of threats that can be both foreseeable and unforeseeable. And these threats can be natural, that can be either in the form of some natural hurricanes or storms, and then accidental and even some malicious threats. So it could be it could also be a threat to techno-economic and geopolitical dimensions such as short circuits and unplanned outrages or cyber attacks. So electricity security actors are different. For example, the policymakers and operators, the regulators, the market operators, the generation companies, and many others. Moving on, there are different properties of electricity security, which includes operational security, that is the ability of the power system to maintain or regain an acceptable state of thriving condition after disturbance. And then the electricity other property is the flexibility, which is the ability of power system to cope up with the short or midterm vulnerability of generation. Then there was adequacy, which is the ability of power system to supply the aggregate electrical demand at all times under normal operating conditions. Resilience of power system is the midterm capability of the system to absorb the effects of disruption and recover from a certain power performance level. And robustness is the long-term compatibility of the power system. So there are some recommendations for ensuring the electrical security, which is the use of reliable data for methodological improvements and strict adherence to best practices. And then the regional and international corporations and the integration with the regional and international corporations wherever is possible can also improve the electricity security. So in conclusion, in this presentation, we have discussed the role of the power industry and how it is crucial for the economy. And then we have discussed that since the electricity is used to power homes and transportation, so there is a need to regulate it, and in order to ensure the long-term availability of the electricity, we have to adhere with regional and international corporations for energy security. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for helping us complete the presentation, Mr. Mohammed Amhar. Well done, Group 2. I'm sure you had a little issue compiling your work, but thank you for that presentation. We'll still be taking the same sequence of comments and observations from our mentors. So we'll be having Mr. Ayobami give his comments first, and then we'll go over to Mr. Okebine, then Mr. Alexander can round up there. So Mr. Ayobami, can you help us analyze the presentation made by?
Okay. So first, on a lighter note, I don't know if they're only, or later had a gentleman discuss. So I was wondering why the ladies are the one taking the lead in the presentation, so that's on a lighter note. Then I don't know, there seemed to be a lot of mix up, maybe network, and it's a bit flustered, which is sometimes understandable. It gets better with time, I guess. I don't know if it was on the slide or if it's an error. She kept on mentioning the Power Sector Reform Act 2025, but it's 2005. This just a correction. Yeah. So I still felt the team could have done better in referencing. They could have referenced at all, but I don't think I saw any single reference at all. Personal opinion was I didn't say any originality. Now, the main purpose of research is always to have an input into a general discourse. So if everybody's talking about a particular thing, you just try and bring in a bit of, this is what I think we should do, So I was expecting that. And I think they were talking more on economical and social part of the power sector, if I got the question given to them right. And so I was expecting to see more on financing, which is a big part of the power, sector, and the challenges Genco are complaining about, and discourse and everything. More of discussions on the tariff system. Your opinion, personal opinion on that. I was expecting to see more on that. Then on the regulatory framework, I saw that the Power Reform Act 2005 was mentioned, and not the current law. That's already obsolete because we still have the Electricity Act now in 2023. So that's more of the current law in use now. So that wasn't there, So that was a big shocker to me, actually. I know that if any research, if proper research was done, you know that there's a current law in place, and you won't be referencing the old law. So so a lot of things should have been done better in that. But kudos was given to at least an effort was being made. But I feel that a lot more should have been done, generally, yes. And especially in the area of your original opinion, anyone can go online and pick up references and everything. But if you can understand and make it into, this is what I think about this, have an informed opinion, I think if there are challenges, you don't go and mention challenges. You actually go also mention this is the way out for it, and it's just like saying, oh, let's get better financing, but you don't discuss how do we get the financing? Is central bank? Is it, how approachable central banks and banks, Alexandra earlier spoke about banks taking over discourse, why did that happen? What was the interest rate they gave this discourse? Why couldn't they meet up with the repayments? So this generality of how do you improve the industries when finance is actually a very big problem in the industry. Recent year or two now, I've been working on setting up of two plants, one in Delta State and one in Akwa Ibom. I think 3,000 megawatts in Delta and over 1,200 megawatts in Akwa Ibom, IPP projects. And you will see there are challenges these people have, and Jekos have been screaming that they're pumping in a lot of money and then making it enough. So these are things I believe that I would have delved into more if we're talking more about the generality of the social and economic part of the power industry. Yeah. So a lot more needs to still be done by the team, in having a more informed presentation. That's my opinion. Yeah. But generally, thank you for the efforts generally. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that observation. We would like to have Mr. Okeogene also give his observation on the presentation that was made.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Group 2, for your presentation. I think a lot of things did not work well for you. Good efforts that you made. I think you need to commend their effort. I think we need to commend their effort for the job they have done. I think this whole presentation thing, it just goes a long way to tell us how, because the energy industry is something that is currently challenged at the moment, just like every other challenge. Having a group, putting things together, getting a presenter to come, it's also not an easy work, right? It's something you need to sit through, walk through it together, generate content and come out there. And I really want to say this, because the energy industry is still challenged, emerging solution is what we're also looking for. I think Abayomi mentioned this already. We're not just looking for book solutions that people have gone there to just go and, grab information and come and throw out here, but we need people to also think. And this is one of the reasons why JIIPCC has put this program together. We want to get our people to understand that they are solution centers, not just coming to come and churn out things that are out there already. So we must also include our voice in our presentations. This is our thoughts. This is what we thought about. And that's the part I enjoyed about the second presenter. He said a few things that this is our discussion, and that goes a long way, right? But back to the presentation already. The first presenter, I saw her migrate from the state of tense. She was very tense at the initial start. She was, she didn't have her act together, but as she began to go on with the presentation, she became more confident. And this is some of the opportunities we have. In our own days in the university, we didn't have any time to do presentations. It was only in our defense. And most of us did not do well because we were scared. We had not been presented in that kind of opportunity before to speak on this kind of platform. But the younger generation today, you have this opportunity for people to listen to you, to improve your presentation skills. These are very soft skills that are important to be successful in the business world or in the career world today. Because as a young person, the first 2-3 years of being in any industry, you begin to make presentations to your boss, to your uplines. So it is very important that we generate and we know how to make presentations, how to do our research, how to present them. I think Abayomi did mention something about referencing. It's also something very important we must take note of as we go along. So it's really not easy at all to put presentations together. I want to commend the team already. But I can see the growth, right? When the presenter started to when she dropped up, she improved so much, I would say around 60-70%. Then Mohammed came in again, better articulated, was able to put the things in place again, and he was able to, like a relay race, right? If you watch the the last championship they had, the United States of America did very well. They had the first lane, the person in the first relay race, she did very well. Second relay did not do well. It's 4x100. Third one did not do very well, but the last person did very well. And America won that already. So I would say this looked like a relay for me. Not a very good start. The lady improved, and Mohammed, I think he finished better. So kudos to the entire team. In terms of content, I think Abayomi has said a lot. More research needs to be done. Presentation of information needs to be improved. A lot of mistakes in terms of date, 2015, 2005, relating of the documents and the content of the 2005 Act instead of 2023. There was a lot of mix-up. But again, I want to give it to the team. I want to give it to JIIPC. That is why we have this opportunity. She will never make this mistake again when she goes ahead. She has learned already. And this is why I'm one of the advocates of people that make mistakes. I did a presentation yesterday for a primary school. I went, a secondary school rather. I went to talk to them. And one of the things I talked about is that mistakes are not the end of the world. You can learn a lot from mistakes. And that has been my own story. I'm never afraid to make mistakes. And I've worked with the kind of bosses that they give room for mistakes, right? So it has given me opportunities to land big roles, to do big things, because nobody looked at me to say, you're a newbie in this area, you are not able to do it. They'll give you the opportunity to try yourself out. So JIIPC has given the opportunity for each and every one of us to try ourselves out. In fact, from this presentation, I would have suggested that there should be two presenters, 7.5 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, 7.5 minutes, one person presents, another 7.5, a second person presents. So it gives two people the opportunity to test their skill out to improve. So these are some of the things I will refer back to JIIPC as recommendations. So one person doesn't just steal the show, but two people, you're able to give feedback to two people and they will improve for life. These are some of the things I've enjoyed in my career, done a lot of presentation, had people to watch me and get me to grow. So, but kudos to the entire team. And I don't want to leave it at that. The mentors are doing a very good job to come back again, listen carefully, and to provide feedback on some of the things you have not done well. And I believe the essence of providing feedback is to take it. They say feedback is a gift. You take it, you look at it, and improve. I'm very, very conscious. I'm very, very optimistic that this team would have learned a lot. And JIIPC, again, kudos to you and the entire team for putting this again together. I'm really again, from this presentation, I see the need. I see immediate growth, from those that participated for this, and I feel elated to be a part of what is going on here. Ready? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful commendation and observation based on to the presentation that was made by Group 2. So we'd like to have Mr. Alexander go next and give his own commentary on the presentation that was made.
So,
okay,
sorry, before he comes up, just to say, I'll be dropping off from here. I have a few things I'm trying to close out. So I'll allow the other mentors and the students, everybody, to continue. Thank you for your time, and have a lovely afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for sparing us the time that you were on call. We are always available to help out every time we call on you. We say a big thank you. Just like before Mr. Okeogene goes, just see some reaction from our mentees thanking him for his time with us here on the call while he was available. So I just want to see reactions, emojis from our mentees saying thank you to Mr. Okeogene. All right, thank you so much, mentees. Thank you once again, sir. We look forward to having you in the next class. Thank you again, and take care, sir. All right, we would like to have Mr. Alexander come give his commentary on the presentation that was made. The stage is yours, sir.
All right, so previous mentors have already spoken a lot of what was on my mind, and I think this group could have done better. Their presentation was they were just reading word for word. The speaker was not very well. As the last speaker said, there's room for growth. There's room for improvement. There were a lot of mistakes. There were a lot of all those things are part of the things that do not make presentations very, very enjoyable, because we're struggling to understand what she was trying to say, what she meant, and all that. Then you just copied and pasted from the internet. If you look at even the conclusion is disjointed. It's not in line with what the subject matter is all about. I'll start with the first slide. Yeah. So when you talk about power reform and privatization, right? Yes, they went through talking about NEPA and the ESPRA, which is fine, and PHCN down to the unbundling of the power sector. Fantastic opportunity, fantastic. Then the actions and the achievements. So what I would have wanted is like a comparison, pre-privatization and post-privatization. What is different, right? And yeah, what was different between the two eras? I can bet right now I don't have power where I am. See, the power has not come, and I can bet some other people to the same thing. So what has changed? These are the kind of comparative studies that I expected from this team. You understand? Yes, you talked about the regulatory framework. The only document here that is part of the regulatory framework that was mentioned is the ESPRA, and ESPRA has been repealed by the Electricity Act 2023. The NEMSA Act is not a regulatory framework per se. Besides, even the NEMSA Act has been repealed by the same Electricity Act, because the Electricity Act has now established the NEMSA. So the act that was signed by National Assembly has been repealed. It is now the Electricity Act 2023 that has now established NEMSA. So NEMSA Act is not even existing. That's what it even means. I see other regulatory frameworks. You talked about NEMSA, Energy Commission. All these are agencies of the government. These are stakeholders. They are not the regulatory framework. So it's as if these people the group 2 did not even understand what they're supposed to do. Federal Ministry of Water Resources. These are stakeholders. They are not the regulatory framework. When you talk about the regulatory framework of the power sector, we're talking about first and foremost the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. We now talk about the Electricity Act 2023, which repealed the ESPRA. That is where you now come down to the market rules. You talk about the NEC codes, distribution code, grid code, metering code, the regulations, map regulation. These are the regulatory frameworks. So this or the other slide, I think slide 8, which mentioned, I mean, look at it. It's just as if you guys just wanted to just fill in the spaces. In the previous slide 7, you already mentioned NEC and NEMSA, right? And you still repeated them here. These are not the regulatory frameworks. These are their stakeholders of the power industry. So, you see, something happened last week during the session. I've been thinking about getting research assistants, people to research and to assist me on a project, but I changed my mind last week. I just said it's better I do the job myself. And listening to this presentation again, I'm not encouraged. I'm not encouraged because there's no time to begin to babysit anybody and all that. Yes, you have time to learn, but you need to be able to show that you are willing to do this thing. This is just, I mean, I don't know, but just look as if you guys just did not put in any independent thinking into this work. Electricity security is just mostly talking about, okay, yes, I see what you've done here, but how does it tie to the Nigeria power sector, right? How does it tie to the Nigeria power sector? You did not relate this to the Nigerian situation. These things need to relate. I can see the conclusion, nothing about Nigeria. So I need I think JIIPC, I always give feedbacks, right? I always give feedbacks to JIIPC, and I realize, I thank God JIIPC is listening, and we need to improve the process, because yes, we're still in the university, but honestly speaking, your first job might not give you the opportunity to spoon feed you or hold your hands. Those opportunities are not there, right? So I think you could have done a better job. What our advice is, even after this presentation and the likes, you can meet and see a way to improve this work. I'm telling you, there are a lot of things that can come out of this, a lot of interesting discussions that can come out of it. So I'll stop here, and I'll wait for the questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for those observations you made. I'm sure everyone is taking notes of the observations that Mr. Alexander has made. We would like to go to or have questions and answers. This is that time of the section. So please, if you have questions from everything our mentors have said, Mr. Okeogene is in absentia, is absent currently, but we still have two of our mentors still here and available to help, maybe buttressing on our mind as regards the power section, and some of the research questions we have, I'll be posting them here so that we'll have our mentors also go through them. But before we go to the research questions, can we have live questions from the mentees? Are there any questions from the mentees, Group 1 and Group 2? Do you have, or anyone who has a question, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon to the mentors. When I was reading up for the presentation and everything, I didn't quite understand the power value chain. That's the one with the electricity generators, the transmitters, the distributors. So I don't know if you can just maybe explain or add more, expert opinions on it, please. Thank you very much. Don't know if anyone heard that.
Yes, your question was heard. We'll just be directing the question to, we'll be going side by side from both mentors. We'll be having Mr. Ayobami. So can you help with that question?
No, Dennis, what I would rather say, there's no time, right? We are taking out of valuable time to partake in this. So there's really no time to, Ayobami is an expert in himself. So both of us don't need to answer one question. Do you understand me? So when a question is asked, just directly to one person, the person should answer. Let's move on. Let's do it that way.
Yeah, all right. So, we'll go that way. So we'll have Mr. Ayobami answer that question. Then with Mr. Alexander will take the next question.
Okay, so if I get a question, she was talking about the value chain.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically, are you talking from the Genco to the transmission to the discos?
Yes. What I was saying was, when I was reading it, I don't know how it is passed through, how the whole process, the procedure. Yeah, I didn't quite understand it. So that's what I was saying.
Okay, you understand, or you're asking?
I did not quite understand what I was reading.
Okay, good.
Yes, I'm asking.
Okay, so basically, I think I'll just the chain is I'll just say a car manufacturer. The Gencos are like the manufacturers of power through various, either renewable, non-renewable, hydro, any form. They generate power. So it's actually the generating company shortened to Genco, basically. So when you make a car, then you have someone like Triscaris Motors gets cars from Toyota, or Toyota Nigeria gets cars from Japan for Toyota, or Japan South Africa, Toyota South Africa, and gets cars. So they are now the middleman between those that manufacture and those that now sell to those people that even sell to the down customer. So it's generator generates, they pass it to Transmission Company of Nigeria, who owns it, then shares it to discos in Nigeria, discos in Lagos. Discos in Lagos now we have the EKDC, we have the IKDC, Ikeja and Eco Distributions, the one in Ibadan and everything. So it's not the discos that now give the final consumers, so generating complaints to transmission complaints, transmission hold it and distribute it to discos now distribute it to the final people like you and I at home, basically. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ayob, for answering that question. Temilola, you can go ahead and ask your question.
All right, thank you very much. My question is on the PIA and the new Electricity Act of 2023. What exactly can be done differently in order to avoid the non-effectiveness of the PIA of 2021? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Alexander, please, can you help us with the answer to that question, sir?
So I have just for the previous question, I'll just say something. I'm sure she has a generator in her house. That generator, look at it as a Genco. The wire between your generator and your house, look at it as transmission. Then your changeover switch, look at it as distribution. So I think that way you understand the generator is a Genco from water or whatever, gas. The wire is the transmission. The distribution box is the disco. Just expand that in a macro level. Now, this question, the truth is the only thing that can be done differently is political will. If the policymakers, the government, executive, legislative, and judiciary have the political will, then things will be done differently. You understand? Everybody looks at the signal at the top, right? And if that person seems like a very serious individual, it looks as if the current leadership of the country are serious, and they have just done the appointment of the minister. So if the minister of power has the political will in line with the minister just does policy directive of the power sector. So in line with the regulatory commission, which does regulations, right, and the presidency. So though it's all the stakeholders have to be on board. There's a lot of disconnect in the power sector. Everybody's doing his own thing in silos. NEC is doing his own thing. NBET is doing his own thing. Energy Commission is doing his own thing. Everybody's different. Gas, NNPC is doing his own thing. So there's supposed to be a lot of coordination before the Minister of Power was appointed. There was a time they were saying El-Rufai was going to be Minister of Energy. So oil and gas to be under him, power be under him. So that way there will be no choice but collaboration between the two super ministries. So it's just political will and lots of collaboration among all the stakeholders. I think that's just the thing that can make things be done differently. Without that, everybody will just be operating in silos, doing his own thing, and there will be non-performance in the industry. I hope I've answered the question.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. We'll be taking other questions from, okay, I can see Ayobami Elias is raising his hand. Please, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So my question is as regards the licensing under the Electricity Act of 2023. So prior to the act, licenses had been issued to Gencos and Discos and all of that. So my question now is, considering that the Electricity Act of 2023 reinforces the position that states can now legislate on matters relating to power production, and in order for you to operate within a state, you need to obtain a state license. So my question is, how does that now operate when you already had people that had previously been issued licenses to operate on a national basis? So that's my question.
All right, thank you, Elias, for asking that question. Can we have Mr. Ayobami help us answer that question?
Yes. Sorry, just a bit of a addition to what Alexander said the last time on the nexus between oil and gas and power. As of September, government has been trying to. There's a program they call, I think, National Commercialization of Gas Flaring thing, and they have started giving out approvals for it, being a 60-day window to show commitment towards it. So, if I'm to get the body language of the government, that's a good step in the right direction, and hopefully if that is seen through to the end, we might see more of gas flaring being turned into energy sources in the power sector. Hopefully, yeah.
I agree.
Yes, and also on the question now, I will also need Alexandra to input because he's more familiar with licensing. But what I would say is this: if there's a previous license, and I need to check that part of the Electricity Act to confirm. If it's a previous license, it shouldn't affect it because that's part of national grid already, and national license been given already. So state are supposed to develop a new licensing system for those that are not being covered by the national already. That's my interpretation of it. I mean, these lawyers will definitely go to court on this. But with time, we'll see more of directions, on this, and of course, you see more of legal cases on this, But like I said, this is a new act. It's still being tested. I'm not seeing so much of this being answered in court, and by the regulatory agencies. So, but why? And if I'm to, which is similar to what we had in the PIA called for a conversion with time. But believe you me, like Alexandra said earlier, the PIA is in 2021. Most people have not done the conversion till now, So that's it. So it's depending to have laws in ground, depending to have it's been practicable and been done, So I believe if you're having a license already, except if the law says that there should be a conversion process, and then it's fine. But I don't see how the states should override the federal, in having to reissue licenses, except if the act is otherwise, actually. Yeah. So Alexandra, I think I will need your input to that here. Better in licenses and permits. Yeah.
And so the commission has made it clear that is NEC. When I say the commission, I mean NEC has made it clear that they are not in dispute and they are not averse to having the states legislate, right? So you see, a state, when the state wants to go into this business, right, they're going to set up a state electricity board or a state electricity agency, which is going to issue licenses for generation, transmission within that state. So there's no conflict with the ones that are already in existence, right? Yes, they've given licenses to whoever it is, but for new greenfield entities that want to go into these businesses, it's the state that's going to issue those licenses. So there's no issue of conflict. Yes, if you look at the Electricity Act, there's a part where it's talking about the unbundling of the discos. So the states are going to, you see, apart from the electricity boards or the agencies, there will also be what we call an IRP. An IRP, integrated resource plan, needs to be carried out for the different states. I think with respect to states electricity law, Lagos has done its own, Ondo has done its own, Benin is in process of doing its own, Kaduna has done its own, Anambra is in process, Enugu has done its own. I think 2 out of the 5 southeastern states have done theirs as well. So no, and one is in progress. Anambra is in progress. So 2 have not done theirs. Ebonyi and Imo, they've not done theirs at all. So even now, there are even discussions around the Southeast having a regional. I'm actually working. I designed the concept note for that. A regional electricity market. You understand? So it does not mean they're going to have issues with NEC. No, it's just that they are the ones making the laws within their own state. So Anambra can say, because of the massive gas reserves in his own state. There can be a Genco in Anambra State, which will now supply to its own customers wherever they are within Anambra State. Now they want to make it a regional thing. They are going to do investments from Anambra, assuming there's a Genco in Anambra, to other states that do not have, other states within that state regional electricity market that do not have generation. They can be the market for distribution or transmission, right? So there is no conflict as such. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Alexander and Mr. Ayobami, for tackling that question. I'm sure Elias must have gotten an answer in everything that has been said. Okay, we'll just be going straight to the questions on the chat box, and we'll try to see how we can ask them as rapid as possible so that we can round up the class. So the first question is, how can the Nigerian power industry be overcome? Please, can you rephrase? Is it, do you mean the challenges in the Nigerian power industry be overcome, or what exactly do you mean? What do you mean? One, you were the ones who asked the question. Do you mean challenges within the Nigerian power sector, or the Nigerian power just in a whole? Okay. Okay, let's move forward while we wait for them to respond. The second question is, what changes do we expect from the new regulations in the Nigerian power industry? What changes do we expect from the new regulations in the Nigerian power industry? I'd like to have Mr. Alexander take that question first.
Okay. Without political will, expect no changes. I think that will be my answer. Anyways, but on a serious note, if it is implemented, there are a lot of things that can happen. States, as we've been talking about states, right? I think we've overflowed that issue. The discourse are going to be broken into two. Currently, they have two licenses. They have a distribution license and a supply license. So yeah, that's another issue. The ISO has been unbundled as well. It's now independent. The TCN has been unbundled. There have been talks around that, but the Electricity Act has finally unbundled it. There's now an independent systems operations, right? So it has established the NEMSA Act, established the REA, giving NEC more powers. NEC has more powers than they used to. And but by and large, I just feel the Electricity Act, if implemented, will do a lot. There'll be a lot of competition. Yes, the Act also talked about in section, I think 105 or 109, I'm not so sure. The transmission company of Nigeria can concession the transmission service provider. I actually wrote an article on that, and I was hoping the Minister of Power was going to read that document. I shared with someone to send it to the Minister of Power for concessioning, for them to invite private stakeholders to come and invest in the transmission to increase, because the minister mentioned he wants to do a super grid. You know, I mentioned earlier that the grid is constrained, barely taking 5,000 megawatts, and install capacity 13,000 megawatts. So we need private investors. And in that article, there are 4 models that were identified for the private sector to come into, and I recommended one of them. You see, that is where research comes in. It's not just to grab articles. You need to think about it critically and make policy recommendations. That is what is going to make it worthwhile for the minister. These people do not have time. So my point is, we should expect a lot of private sector investments in the power sector, which will eventually make it more profitable. But when there are investments like this, expect that you pay more for power. I will just stop here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for that answer to that question. We'll be going straight to the third question. The third question is there any sustainable and reliable alternative to the current power source in Nigeria? We'd like to have Mr. Ayobami handle that question.
Sorry, sorry, can you repeat the question again?
The question is there any sustainable and reliable alternative to the current power source in Nigeria?
The power source, it all has to do with if we have more investment in the power industry. That's what I say. And for us to have more investment, we have to have the investors have to feel that it's of course it's down to profit. They can make some money off the industry, and how long government policies and actions can affect the industry basically. So alternative source, except if you are introducing renewable energy into more of renewable energy into the power industry. But the fact remains is how well can we bring in renewable energy in the country? How the capacity to renewable energy for this country, I mean, it's questionable, you know, and it's more expensive in the sense that the new technologies, you have to start importing technology and everything. So introducing new renewable energy would actually be more expensive right now, you know. But I feel that more investments needs in the industry, but more investment is tied to the capital. You know, how do you make your money, and is it sustainable in the long run? Our government policies and actions, practicality of the actions, how it affects the industry and the market. You know, so all this play a very vital. Like I said earlier ago, you hear that a lot of banks are taking over the discourse and everything. Why? Because I mean, if to even take a loan, you know, it's a lot of interest rate being charged, short term, not even long term. You know, and the way the market is now, most of the discourse will tell you that they are running on maybe government intervention a bit or at a loss, because they can't arbitrarily just increase the tariffs, and we Nigerians we shout. So a lot of factors interplays here, you know, politics, finance, us the customers also, yeah. So I mean, we just need more money being pumped into it, but more money means it has to be sustainable. I know Alexandra is itching to say something about it.
Sorry, Mr. Alex, so you have.
Yeah, is there any sustainable and reliable alternative to current power source? My brother, there's nothing more sustainable than what is available right now. I don't know how to answer this question, because what we have now is gas. Okay, sustainable and reliable alternative and renewables. Yeah, renewables in terms of hydrogen, solar, and the like. So yeah, I think that's just my submission. That's the only alternative that we have. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll just be going straight to the next question. The next question is, okay, is it not possible for states to generate their own electricity individually instead of having one national grid that we always connect to? Mr. Alexander, please, can you help us with that question?
We've answered this question already. We've answered this question.
All right, sir. Yeah, I remember you said something in this direction. Elias, do you still have a question, or do you have a question to ask? I can see you raising your hand. Okay. I guess it was not a question. So we're going straight to the group 2 questions. The group 2 question says, would regional collaboration among African states be helpful in achieving constant electricity supply in Africa and Nigeria specifically? Mr. Alexander, can you help us with this question, sir?
You've been calling me Alexandra. I'm not a trans, so you've been calling me Alexandra. My name is Alexander. Sorry. Last week you were calling me Alexandra. My name is Alexander. Okay, so yes, regional collaboration among African states is very, very helpful. Yes, remember, even Ghana said they wanted to give Nigeria electricity supply. Currently, Nigeria is supplying electricity to Niger Republic, and CB, Benin Republic, right? So yes, it will go a long way in ensuring constant electricity supply in Africa and Nigeria. Collaboration is needed. It just needs to be, they call it transboundary trading. Yeah, so there'll be connection points between the Nigeria and other countries. Yeah, I agree. Collaboration, very, very important.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, there's something called, I encourage you to research what is called the West African Power Pool. This group too, that asks this question, they should go and check out WAP, West African Power Pool. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think Mr. Ayobami just left the call. I hope you'll be able to join us soon, but we would like to just go ahead and, since Mr. Alexander is still around, he will just help us with the last two questions, or the last three questions rather. The second question here is, what are the negative implications of privatization of power in Nigeria? What are the negative implications of privatization of power in Nigeria? So are there any negative implications, Mr. Alexander?
Ayobami is back. I want Ayobami to tackle this one.
Okay, Mr. Ayobami. So are there any negative implications of privatization of power in Nigeria, sir?
Privatization was supposed to come and make it better. But unfortunately, I think technologically wise, we are better in the sense that more movement is being done, in the sense that new technologies have been introduced, private investment is trying to increase our megawatts and everything. So yes, there's been some improvement in it. But so also, disadvantage has been the fact that, like I said, the financing has been an issue. The government policy, like Alexandra has always been saying, has had a very big impact on investment in Nigeria. The infrastructure, the government's policies and directions and everything. So the advantage is that it's not as been as fast as I believe for example, we have wanted. But I believe that it's a right direction, and it's a right step in the right direction. But of course, government factors are playing a very vital role in here. And like I said, why I keep saying financing is just I've been involved in the breakdown of costing for projects, and the question that the CEO asked then was, okay, so if we're spending this much money, where do we make our money from? How many years does it take to make our money? Now, government was involved because it believed that if a government will be able to pump in more money into it. But we found out that the endemic corruption in Nigeria, the normal civil service lack of interest in work and everything caused it to be a great decline in it. So private people are coming, they have revamped it. I believe it's better, but I still also believe we still have a long way to go generally. Yeah, but I think it's better. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for helping us with that answer. Forward, question 3. What recommendations would be feasible in making policies on power distribution in Nigeria? What recommendations would be feasible in making policy on power distribution in Nigeria? Mr. Alexander, sir, can you help us with that, sir?
Hello? Okay, so what recommendations? Just to add something to what Ayobami said, right? Yes, privatization is supposed to be fantastic. It's a good solution, but one of the negative implications is that private sector participants are mostly profit driven, and profits, making money is their objective. So mostly, I saw this when I was in the disco. They focus more on providing electricity to areas that no can pay. So areas that cannot pay so much are usually disenfranchised. So that's one of the negative implications. Not everybody's equal, and you don't blame them. I was talking about finance. So these guys get this financing from at exorbitant exchange rates and all the like. So they need to make the money and recoup. They need to recoup these monies and pay back their lenders, their financiers. Back to this other question, recommendations will be feasible in making policies. I don't understand this question, honestly speaking. What recommendations will be feasible in making policies? I don't understand this question. For policy making rests with the Minister of Power, as I had mentioned earlier. So it's the minister that has the prerogative to make policies for the overall power sector with regards to generation, transmission, and distribution, right? And as I said, NEC does they regulate. So if you're saying what policy recommendations for the distribution now can I recommend, I'll talk about policy recommendations, metering. I'll talk about yes, there's one very important, penalties for people that steal energy. Yes, that will go a long way, because a lot of people steal energy and there are no penalties, right? Even though the law is there, but the lawyers, I don't know, you just settle them. The discourse are very corrupt. Anybody that is caught should be penalized, sent to prison, and all those things. So those are some of the things I would just most likely recommend. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. I think this will be the last question for today, and we'll be throwing it to Mr. Ayobami to help us with it. And it's, I would like to know why there is only one transmission company. Why can't there be more? And has the availability of just one trans course in any way affected the power industry negatively? Like to know, why is there only one transmission company? Why can't there be more? And has the availability of just one trans course affected the power industry negatively? Mr. Ayobami, sir, can you help us tackle this last question?
Yes, why there's only one, you can ask the government about that one. Yeah, yes, because government wanted to handle transmission, yeah. So, and has it affected the power supply chain? Yes, it has. You know, like we said, the TCN has not had the capacity to even receive from the GENCOs. So yes, that's reduced the power that flows down to the discos, that flows down to you and I. So yes, it has affected. Why the government wanted to have it? I think the government wanted to have my own opinion is that they wanted to have a control of a part of it. You know, now if you go around the world, there are some sectors that are deemed quite important, sensitive. The government believe that if they release it to the population, anything that has to do with security, defense, something that has to do with you relying on another country that can dictate to you, you know, all those things. You know, I wrote a whole time paper on that. You know, on how it affects the economy and finance and everything. Yeah. So this new act is supposed to. I remember reading it when it was still a bill. When it was still a bill, and when it was still a bill, yes. And the old thing we're asking them was, what happens to TCN? What happens to TCN? And what I remember saying then was that they're saying that yes, the new act would introduce other people into transition leg, but my own private opinion and interpretation, which is still being arguable by other lawyers, will tell you that my own interpretation is that TCN will still hold that transition leg. That's my interpretation. You can read and have your interpretation. You know, that it will still hold that interpretation leg, but when it's in default, maybe it's a part that is not covering, it can bring in private individuals to take care of those parts is not covering. So basically, there's still a reliance on TCN for the major part of it. And of course, you know, I think one of the recommendations, I think someone was saying something about if TCN can be open to private investment and everything. Yeah, that will make it go a long way. But the government still wants to control. So there are two things the government is interested in controlling in power, in my opinion. One, transmission, and two, the tariff the customers pay, because it has a national significance. Just like we have the petrol you buy, our government wants to, you know, still control it. Even with the PIA bill, the NPC chairman is still, the NPC or guy is still the one stating what fuel price should be. For God's sake, NPC is now a limited liability company. It's not more a government agency, so that's it. But government still wants to control the pricing and transmission. So the act is supposed to make transmission leg better. But like I said, I'm trying to see how practicable it will be, in real life, basically, because the TCN will still be holding, in my opinion, subject to what happens practically, will still be holding a large leg of the transmission leg. That's what I believe. So yes, it's not advisable to have one body controlling it, but the government knows best, and the act is supposed to help in that aspect. But let's fingers crossed and see how practicable it can be. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for that answer. I'm sure it has been a very, very wonderful section, right? All our three mentors have come and, right, like I'm sure there's been an upgrade in knowledge about the power industry in no small way, especially as tied to Nigeria. So beyond just the average knowledge about what power is and electricity, the regulations around, or the normal average mentality around power, like whether if I have lights or I don't have lights, who to blame, who not to blame. Beyond just having the notions, we know that there are regulations, there are policies, and there are other things that contribute to the very current situation of the power industry in Nigeria. And I'm sure everyone has learned a thing or two moving forward on how we can also collaboratively make efforts in terms of pushing in for more power for more generation in that sense of power in the country. So we would like to thank our mentors, Mr. Ayobami and Mr. Alexander, for coming to help us upgrade our minds on what we previously knew about the power industry in Nigeria. I personally have learned a lot, and I'm sure a lot of the mentees have also learned a lot. And moving forward, majority of what we have learned will become applicable for us, and we will know not to just blame Disco's company for and the government for the inavailability of lights, but we should also find our own ways and channels, like was discussed in the last class, to alternate more better source of energy in terms of renewable energy. With this, Okay, before we call it a close to class, I forgot we are supposed to have our picture section for our social media postings. So we'd just like to have our mentees turn on their video cameras so that we can capture their faces for their own postings. So please, if that is possible, can our mentees turn on their videos so that we can take a screenshot? Thank you. Okay, can we, as you comply? Elias, Araba, Sandra, Busayo, please, can you turn on your video? See, Gina, please, can you listen so that we can just take the picture section and completely round off for today? I don't know. Maybe our mentees are very, very shy. Irrespective of that, okay, I've taken a screenshot, but it's all good. With that, we've come to the end of today's section. Once again, I want to say thank you to our mentors for always answering our call to come help train, to come help mentor our mentees and give us well-informed knowledge about areas like this, areas like the power industry and what we ought to know about it. And I'm sure a lot of the lessons learned will be taken seriously, including that was given during the presentations, the observations made by the mentors. We'll take them seriously and we'll also put them into consideration when making more research. So with that, we've come to the end of today's section on the power industry. We look forward to having you guys in class, that is our mentees, and our mentors. We also look forward to having you in other sections. Thank you very much, sirs. Do all have a lovely day ahead.